The HOA thought they could intimidate me with paperwork and hollow threats. What they failed to realize was that I wasn't just any homeowner. I happened to be the county's chief of police, and when they stepped out of line, they were about to learn that the law doesn't yield to neighborhood bullies. Before we get started, drop a comment with the country you're tuning in from. Let's see how far this story spreads. It all started when Nancy, our fearless HOA president, began her little dictatorship tour. She strutted through the neighborhood with a clipboard, flinging around phony citations like she was running a federal office. She tried to fine me for parking in my own driveway, claiming it violated HOA rules, despite my truck being registered, inspected, and fully legal under State Vehicle Code 22507.2, which explicitly states HOAs can't override municipal parking laws. When I stood my ground and refused to pay, Nancy kicked things up a notch. She came to my door flanked by two guys in matching polo shirts, calling themselves HOA compliance officers. They flashed badges so fake they looked like they came from a school supply aisle, and one said, "Sir, if you don't cooperate, we'll be forced to arrest you for non-compliance with HOA regulations." That was my first red flag. Arrest. HOAs don't have arrest authority. Only actual law enforcement officers do, per State Penal Code 830.1. I let them finish their routine while my body cam quietly recorded every second. I acted dumb, asking them to repeat themselves. Every lie they told was just more ammunition. But inside, I was already laying the trap. If Nancy wanted to fake power, I'd show her what real power looked like. Then things got serious. Fast. The next day, a marked security vehicle pulled into my driveway with flashing amber lights. The same two guys stepped out, now holding plastic zip ties like they were about to take me in. They still didn't realize who they were messing with. These wannabe officers marched up my driveway like they were executing a raid, zip ties swinging like they were legit cuffs. One said, "Sir, under HOA code enforcement, you're under arrest. Comply now or we'll use force." I almost laughed. HOA code enforcement? Not a thing. Under Title 18, U.S. Code 912, impersonating an officer is a felony. They weren't just pretending anymore, they were breaking federal law on my front lawn. I raised my hands like I was cooperating. Okay, I said, stepping down off the porch. But the moment one of them reached out, my instincts took over. I grabbed his wrist, twisted it, and brought him to the ground in one clean move. His knee bent with a sickening crack. He screamed, crawling away from their fake patrol car. The second guy charged with zip ties in hand. I shifted my stance, hooked his leg, and sent him crashing face first onto the pavement. His knee smashed, dislocating instantly. He tried to stand, but his leg gave out. Both of them were now writhing on the ground, begging me not to hurt them anymore. They didn't need to worry. I was done. They were finished. I reached into my jacket and pulled out my real badge, the one issued by the county sheriff's department, not something laminated at a copy center. I knelt beside them and said quietly, "You two just impersonated law enforcement, trespassed on private property, and tried to carry out an unlawful detainment. That means you're both facing real time behind bars." Their faces went pale. Whatever swagger they had vanished immediately. While they squirmed on the ground, I got on the radio to dispatch. Within minutes, a pair of my officers arrived, sirens blaring, weapons drawn. The imposters were cuffed, Mirandized, and loaded into the back of a squad car without a word. Neighbors peeked through curtains, whispering among themselves. This wasn't just some neighborhood drama anymore. It was a criminal operation unraveling right in front of them. But the real twist was still coming. These two clowns didn't act alone. Someone higher up in the HOA had sent them, and I already knew who was pulling the strings. If you've been enjoying this HOA saga so far, go ahead and like and subscribe, because things are just getting interesting. At the station, it didn't take long for the fake enforcers to crack. Under a bit of pressure, one of them confessed they hadn't come up with this on their own. Someone from the HOA promised them a hefty payday if they could scare me straight. That someone? None other than Nancy Grant, the president herself. I wasn't shocked. Nancy had been on a personal vendetta ever since I ticketed her son for reckless endangerment last year. She figured if she couldn't beat me legally, she'd try to corner me with scare tactics, maybe even smear my reputation. Instead, she ended up attaching her name to a federal investigation. The charges piled up fast: impersonating an officer under 18 U.S. Code 912, criminal conspiracy, attempted unlawful detention, and trespass. Every single one carried serious prison time. And since she was the mastermind, Nancy wasn't hiding behind HOA bylaws anymore. She was facing felony charges. When officers brought her in, Nancy tried her usual smug routine. "This is all a big mistake," she said. "I was just looking out for the community." I leaned across the interview table and slid over the case file. Inside, statements from her hired goons, images of their fake IDs, and surveillance footage from my front porch cameras. Her expression darkened. "This isn't a mistake, Nancy," I told her. "It's a criminal conspiracy, and you're finished." Her lawyer tried to push back, but the evidence was airtight. By the end of the day, Nancy was fingerprinted and booked. The HOA board convened an emergency meeting the next morning. Residents who once cowered under her rule now stood tall, demanding her removal. The vote wasn't even close. Nancy was ousted, hit with steep legal fees, and permanently banned from ever holding another HOA office. As for her two hired musclemen, they'll be hobbling into prison once their knees stop screaming. Maybe then they'll think twice about posing as cops. That night, I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, patrol cars still stationed down the street. Justice came hard, but it came true. The neighborhood was finally free from Nancy's grip. And me? I wasn't just their neighbor, I was their chief of police. And that's how the HOA learned the hard way. When you send fake cops after me, you don't just lose control, you lose everything.